Okay, my name's Eden, and my proposition is that today's media is desensitizing children's minds to what happens out in the real world, causing them to act out in ways in which are harmful to themselves and others. To support this claim, I'll explain to you how violence in the media desensitizes a child's mind to violence that is occurring outside of their homes, how children are incapable of distinguishing reality from fiction, and how arrogant behavior is made acceptable by its portrayal in the media. My first point being that violence in the media desensitizes a child's mind to the violence that is occurring outside of their homes, is causing them to unknowingly be the source of such aggression throughout their lives. Children are being exposed to violence on television, whether it be on the news or on a television show, and I don't just mean the TV shows that are directed more towards adults, but shows such as Law and Order and Family Guy, but violence is seeping into children's cartoons as well. For example, there's a cartoon for children called The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but basically what it's about are two kids who, by some means, obtain a pet Grim Reaper, and they hang out with it, and anyway, that's what the whole show is about. And throughout the show, the main characters are killed or somehow are obliterated at some point of every episode, and in the next episode they come back seemingly unharmed. So children in elementary school are the targets of the shows such as The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. An organization called ACT Against Violence, which is Adults and Children Together Against Violence, says that these children, 6 to 11 years old, believe that TV reflects real life and will become more active and show more aggressive behavior after viewing violent scenes. The Kaiser Foundation report states that 80% of parents have seen their children imitate either positive or aggressive behavior from these TV shows. Also, researchers from the University of Michigan published their findings from a 15-year-long study of 329 youths, which showed that men and women who watched violent TV programming as children were more inclined to show violent tendencies as adults. They said the results show that men who were high TV violence viewers as children were significantly more likely to have pushed, shoved, grabbed their spouses, and that such men had been convicted of crimes at over 3 times the rate of other men. In my second supporting claim, I will share with you how children are incapable of distinguishing reality from fiction. A research group called Killology, who performed a study on children who watch violence on TV, made a comparison, stating that to have a child as young as 3 to 5 years old watch a splatter movie, learn to relate to a character for the first 60 minutes of a movie, then in the last 30 minutes, they watch helplessly as that new friend is hunted and brutally murdered. This is the moral equivalent of introducing your child to a friend, letting your child play with that friend, then butchering that friend in front of your child's eyes. And this happens to your child hundreds upon hundreds of times. Parents think that children can tell the difference between what is real and what is fake because this is what they are able to do, but that's not the case. The fact that children can't tell the difference between reality and fiction and what is right and wrong ties in with my third supporting claim that arrogant behavior is made acceptable by its portrayal in the media. Now, how many of you have seen the picture of Miley Cyrus smoking out of a bong? Okay, quite a few of you. And so that probably goes for the children as well, who actually look up to Miley Cyrus and care about what she does out in the real world. Now, this was treated as breaking news in the media, ranging from online news highlights to being in broadcast news stations across the U.S. But on the flip side, nothing really happened, or at least nothing was broadcasted about the consequences that Miley would have to face. I'm not saying that Miley isn't at fault for what she did, but if it weren't for the media putting such a spectacle on the actress, then less people would probably care about it, let alone know about her smoking out of a bong. The people who do care are the children who watch her shows, such as Hannah Montana and the rest of her movies. They watch her living this fabulous life on TV and want to be just like her. Then when they see her out of the TV show context and in the news, these children don't know the difference between what is reality, fiction, and what are right and wrong actions. This is because these role model celebrities are basically being rewarded with publicity and don't have to take full responsibility for their actions, and the media makes that apparent. This puts a bit of a damper on organizations such as DARE, who try to motivate kids to say no to drugs. But in a child's mind, what they are thinking is, well, Miley's doing it, and she's still rich and fabulous, and why can't they do it? To conclude, I have told you how the media is desensitizing children's mind to what happens in the real world, as opposed to what only happens on TV, by discussing how violence desensitizes them, how children are incapable of distinguishing reality from fiction, and how the media portrays arrogant behavior as acceptable. So where do we draw the line, or how can we fix this? Well, media needs to make a point that what they are showing to children is just fantasy, and although these television shows and the like are entertaining for adults, we need to also be the censor for our future generation.
Yuri, what was the time?
5:40.
Thank you. All right, Eden, the topic area is clear. Your proposition, though, is really too complicated. It's got multiple parts to it. It's got a conditional statement built into it. It goes on for what seems like 3 sentences. You've got to simplify this idea for an oral argument. It might be fine in an essay, but for a presentation, it needs to be a little bit more direct. I did think that your secondary points, though, were a little bit clearer. The first one seemed maybe a little bit wordy, but the second and the third points were very easy to follow, and I knew exactly what the point of each of those claims was going to be. You did a good job setting up those secondary claims and labeling them when you got to them. I appreciated that. You're dependent on examples on a couple of the points, and I think that you need to be able to show some follow-up on the examples. On the last point, for instance, you mentioned Miley Cyrus as an illustration of one of these messages that is inconsistent with what the kids are seeing. But I don't hear any information that suggests that kids are following Miley Cyrus's example, that they think that they can get away with this or that it's okay to do, that there's been a change in the amount of consumption of marijuana or changes in behavior simply because it's been shown here. You kind of make the presupposition that that is the consequence. I don't have any doubt that there are problems with kids seeing some things that are not intended for kids, like a splatter movie. If I see parents taking their kids in there, I just shake my head and go, "What the hell is the matter with these people?" But that's me, and that's my subjective point of view on it. If I was being asked to prove that it causes some long-term harm, I think you need something a little bit stronger than the information you've got here. There's just the presupposition that's supporting you on this point. I did like the one study that you had on the first point that talked about the exposure to violence as a kid having an impact on people when they're adults and their behaviors. I thought that supported your point a little bit more, and you needed a little bit more information like that. I thought your presentation was really solid. You did a good job talking to the audience, and there's a good variety in your voice, so you're doing the public speaking things pretty well too. All right, thank you.